Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. I'm Death by Nature, also known as Justin on Make.Test.Battle. Welcome to the Modcast!
Hello.
The podcast about Nerf modding in general, and everything live action gaming. Today, we have an exciting episode. This is the HPA episode, and we have featured here four individuals, including our very own Ryan,
Hello.
who have experience in HPA. So, we have, of course, Rhino or Ryan.
Oh
Hey.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
We also have Zombona.
Ooh.
Ooh.
You can say hi.
Hey, I'm Zombona, guys.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. Honestly, we it's so people can hear who you actually are.
Oh, surprise, everybody.
We also have LiamNerfMods, or Spectre, as he likes.
How you doing?
A fellow Australian here up in Queensland, but I
Right,
forgive you for
mate.
that.
Woohoo! Oh, bloody
Yeah.
Mexicans south of the border.
And we also have, I pronounced it properly before, JediaelTheWise.
Hello.
Who was also about to be arrested.
Apparently.
The Popo are after him.
So
Sir.
today's episode is going to be about everything to do with HPA. Now, to get a little bit of background for anyone who isn't fully aware, there's three main types of ways you can propel a Nerf dart. We have flywheels, which we've spoken about a lot before. You have springers, which are pretty ubiquitous, and then you have air tank blasters, which recently have completely fallen out of favor with stock mods because of how much power they can hold. Just to throw some numbers at everyone, a full-length K26 in comparison to a Titan will hold about 3 times as much stored energy. So the amount of power you can fit in an air tank is much higher, and by using HPA you can remove the entire disadvantage of needing to pump everything up. So before I keep talking too long, let's just get everyone to roughly introduce themselves, and Justin will throw a few pictures up on the screen of some of the mods that they have done. So let's start with Zombona, because inverse alphabetical is best alphabetical. Talk a bit about yourself and say what you've done and built.
Hi, my name is Zombona. I have mostly
Hi,
done
Zombona.
BoomCo.
I'm also an
I mostly
alcoholic.
work. I mostly work on BoomCo stuff because it's awesome and better than Nerf.
Ooh.
Primarily the
It's
Rapid
not
Madness.
just.
Primarily the Rapid Madness. Hooking up to an air tank gives me over 700 shots without pumping, which is a huge plus because the Rapid Madness and pumping doesn't really make a very good HVZ primary. What's on screen now is the Madness pistol.
Yep.
And so I
Yeah,
guess you
and
would
then-
say you'd use the air tank instead of a pump.
Oh yes, definitely. Those 40-round clips, if you have an unmodded Rapid Madness, you cannot clear a 40-round clip without extra pumping. So
Wow.
adding on the air tank, you really need so that you can clear your 40-round clips.
Interesting.
So what you're saying is that you're the A10 of Nerf. Brrr.
Yeah, actually, I've clocked my fastest Rapid Madness is over 16 darts a second.
Nice.
But generally, I try to keep them around 10 to 12.
So there you go, people. If you want 16 darts per second, don't go for a rapid strike. Go for a rapid madness.
Actually, the last HVZ I was telling the guys it beforehand, but the last HVZ I went to, I was running my Madness pistol, and the very first zombie charge, there were about 7 or 8 zombies, and I just turned around and unloaded an entire 40-round clip on them, and got to listen to the cries of "What the hell is that?"
Gorgeous butthurt.
So much salt.
What is
Awesome.
best in life? To see your enemies fall before you?
So
Taste the
And a
salt
rain of
it is.
BoomCo darts.
in a similar vein, we also have here Jediel, or JediaelTheWise, or Kevin, who does a slightly similar, and we'll talk about why a bit later, but he does some similar sort of stuff. So do you want to just introduce yourself, Kevin?
My name's Jed or Kevin. Zambona is basically the yin to my yang in terms of HPA mods.
He was my
Actually,
inspiration too.
yeah,
Oh,
when
I
I
ship it.
talked
I
a
ship it
while
so hard.
back, and he was looking. I gave him the idea for the Viera air tank using prefabricated tanks. I mainly deal with the Mag Strike because in one of my first HVZ games, because air powered blasters are the fastest in terms of unload speed after they're pumped or powered, that split second made a difference between me surviving my first mission. And so after that, I was like, I gotta figure out a way to make this even better. So over the course of about 5 games, I just kept improving my mods more and more, trying to optimize them to their maximum capacity. So I basically figured out all the ins and outs of just one specific blaster over the course of about 2.5 years. So I've since then worked on a couple other mods where I've incorporated the Mag Strike with other blasters, mainly the Rapid Fire 20 and some other ones. Just basically capitalizing on the ridiculous rate of fire you can get from air blasters, which is why they're my favorite.
Exactly. So, sort of the other end of the spectrum to the rapid madness on the same spectrum where you have using the sort of stored air as a replacement for the pump for the mag strike.
Right. Yeah. And I from comparing with Zambona, I don't seem to get quite the same amount of mags out of it. I mean, I can still get about 35 mag strike magazines out of one single tank,
Wow.
which is still really nice. I mean, for a final mission, that's usually more than plenty of what I need. And as you can see on the screen, I have my final build version includes a strong arm that's underbarreled on there. So
Okay.
I use a single shot option. If it's just one person running at me, I'm not going to waste my air pressure on it. But I've made several mag strike builds for different types of games. So for Final Mission, I had the same situation as Zambona. I had 5 or so people charging at me, and I can alternate between 2 clips at the same time. So that's one advantage that I have, is that I have 2 clips that are separately powered. So
Right.
I can be reloading and still be able to fire. So I'm never without an unloaded magazine.
Yeah, I
That
can
doesn't
definitely
make up
see the
for my
advantage
40
of
round
that.
clip compared to your 10, though.
True, but when you are
Yeah,
reloading,
true.
you're vulnerable. That is a good point,
That's
splitting
why
it to two.
I've got that integrated twisted spinner for that.
Yeah.
So, on to our last guest here this afternoon or this morning, whichever time zone, now, whatever, is Liam. And Liam and I have a totally different sort of air storage method. So, Liam, do you want to just tell us a bit who you are, what you do, what are some of the things you've built and worked on?
Right. Hi, everybody. Sorry in advance for my annoying voice. Basically, Ryan and I had similar ideas at similar times, with completely different implementations to begin with. And we know it as true HPA. It's basically much like Kevin's and Zombona's attempts at like pre-compressed gas or air, pre-compressed air, and we've gone the next step. Like they're able to basically fill their rigs from a standard compressor. Our Ryan's and my rigs originally were true high pressure air. We were talking
Uber
like,
tanks and paintball,
yeah,
basically.
bottled rigs in excess of 3,000 psi for me and around 3,000 for Ryan.
Yeah. So the main difference being the storage pressure, but
Yeah,
also the implementation. So basically, instead of using the air for mag strikes or rapid madnesses, Liam and I have done a lot more high-powered single-shot style blasters. And I know you've done a couple of really nice-looking ones and very functional ones.
yeah. So like that sort of thing, my first real exposure to that was in Brisbane, where a guy actually had done this and rigged up a paintball rig with a high pressure gas regulator that he'd basically thrown into a manual action mega missile tank, and he was able to fire off 350 FPS shots as fast as people were able to pump a long shot. And so I sat back watching that at one of the high power wars that I go to, and I was enamored. It was amazing to watch because it was
I
just
bet that was beautiful to watch.
it
Oh, yeah.
was because this guy has the smoothest action on his like he called it the mega long stamp ray because it was a mega missile tank inside a long shot stock on a stampede barrel with a Raven body.
Okay.
And yeah, he'd integrated it all smoothly, cleanly, and the cycling action was friggin' phenomenal. It was the smoothest bolt I've ever seen cycle, including stock Nerf bolts. And I like the only complaint he had about it was the fact that his cycle action didn't favor 18 mags for some reason, but it fed sixes perfectly. And so
Weird.
like that really spurred Brisbane as a whole to expand upon compressed air. There were a few LPA variants along the way that I can't really talk about due to some agreements I've had with people. But then when I started working on it, I had one of those LPA rigs, and I actually started out with a bolt action design because, I mean, how cool
Simple.
would it be to have like a bolt action sniper? It was fun as hell.
Snipper!
I threw a 4B tank in a Max Force Shadowhawk shell, and then added some PVC pipe and brass, and used the stock bolt to actually create a clip feeding bolt design with a Retaliator magwell. And so that was my first design, and then actually over the summer I began looking at what else I could do. And by the end of February, I'd come up with I used a shot blast tank hidden inside the front of a rapid strike, and actually used the shot blast's piston feature to actuate a small breech which fed 50 cal paintballs. And so from there, I did that was first true semi-auto for me, and I was still running the rig. It was fun, but it wasn't Nerf darts. And so my problem with that is that, yeah, I couldn't take it to wars because it was basically a great concept, but there was absolutely no...
And it's also technically a paintball gun.
Yeah, so there was also that, and if there are cops reading this, I don't have it anymore, so don't try and... It actually did break, I promise you that.
Just
Yeah.
to fill anyone who doesn't know about Australian laws, paintball markers do fall under a low-level firearms license.
Category
Yeah.
A
So
for
you
Queensland.
do need to get a license. You do need to have a police-inspected gun safe in your home and that kind of stuff.
Wow, wait,
Also-
so paintball counts as a Cat A?
Yeah, paintball
Huh.
counts as Cat A in Queensland. You have to get a Cat A with a specific paintball permit in Queensland to get it. Followed by, and this is why I'm not into paintball yet, you actually have to, on top of that, get a permit to acquire, which costs money to get the paintball marker itself.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you have
that's
to get the paintball marker within the time limit specified by the permit to acquire, or the permit to acquire expires.
So TLDR, Australian firearms and laws and stuff suck balls.
They're fudged.
America.
Yeah. So I guess that sort of leads us kind of on to where we're going. And basically, we use paintball tanks. And so one of the big things with HPA blasters that I just want to start this stream off with is safety.
Yes.
You know, one of the big things is compressed air is a very easy way to store a lot of energy. I went through and did some fun comparisons. My scuba tank that I use, for example, stores as much energy as the entire sum of the muzzle energy of 200 rounds out of an M249. So,
What?
yeah, the amount of energy that you can fit into these bottles is insane. And if you don't harness that energy correctly and appropriately, it can injure you pretty easily.
My only question to you
Or
then
kill you.
is how much, like, what is the volume of your scuba tank?
The scuba tank I have, shit, I've forgotten.
You said 2 cubic feet, I think.
So scuba tanks do everything differently. They say the volume of the air uncompressed because you're, decompressing it when you go to breathe it. So
Yeah.
instead of a paintball using the volume of the tank, they list the volume of the air that fits into the tank. So even if I said the number, it would be insanely high, and everyone would go like, "What?" I think it's like 60 cubic feet pressed down to 200 bar. So whatever 60 cubic feet divided by 200 is, yeah.
A
Anyways,
A lot.
it's much bigger than a paintball tank. Although the issue with it that I have at the moment, and I'm actually going to a paintball tank, is it's
Yeah.
freaking heavy. Because it's aluminium as opposed to carbon fiber.
Oh, yeah.
So
Running in that thing is a pain.
what kind of shots do you guys get out? Because compared to Jediah and mine, I get 700 BoomCo rounds. He gets about 350 Nerf rounds. What kind of shot quantity do you guys get from your rigs?
So that is a huge variant question because depending on
Oh,
what
yeah.
air tank and what pressure.
Ryan and I have done like different calcs, or I've got Ryan to do a lot of my calcs for me because I'm lazy. I don't, but he's like I've thrown him different tank volumes anywhere between 30 mil to 100 mil, and then different pressures, operating pressures, and those two are the big factors because if you change your volume ever so slightly, then your shot count can increase or decrease drastically. But if you drop your pressure ever so slightly, you can increase your shot count as well to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, rough order of magnitude, we're looking anywhere between 200 to 1,000 shots, depending on what size air tank. I mean, if I used my tank on something like a mag strike, it would last a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, the scuba tanks, basically you'd be able to go a few days without needing to refill it.
Yeah.
Ari, what pressure do you run at? Sorry?
I was actually just about to comment on that. I try to keep mine around 40 to 50 psi, though
In the
with the
tank,
Rapid Madness.
or is that after the regulator?
After the regulator. I pump mine up to between 100 and 110 psi.
Gotcha.
After
So
the
we'll
regulator,
explain to everyone in the stream how this stuff sort of works in the next little bit, but
All right.
so you were saying? So about 40 psi. Is that what the
yeah,
mag strike
after-
normally runs at?
Actually, I did some tests on that. After 18 pumps, which is when the OPV kicks in, is right around 45, 46 psi, I want to say.
Okay.
Yep.
And so then after, I mean, I tend to run it between 40 and 50 psi after the regulator. And that's
Gotcha.
what gets me my shot efficiency. Increasing the psi on the Rapid Madness does not increase the velocity of the dart. Instead, it increases your firing speed.
Ah, okay. See, I have actually
Right.
no idea how that mechanism works. So is there some sort of air restricting system in it, or?
There's an air piston inside of the what I'm going to call the black box because it's kind of an enigma looking thing.
Yeah, I remember when they first came out, and I think Bobo, who's in stream chat at the moment, I think he got one first. He opened it up. He did a video. It's like, he took all photos, and he's just like so sad afterwards.
As
It's so
Buff
complicated.
Daddy did as well.
Yeah,
I
that's one
think
of the
Buff Daddy
reasons.
did.
That's one of the reasons why I like the mag strike and why I got so into that. It's because of how incredibly simple it is to adapt. I don't think we have a picture of it, but when I was working through the internals, all you got to do is cut off the feed between the tank and the trigger mechanism, and all it is it's just a simple valve where the trigger opens the valve and then it goes into the barrel / actuator. And the way that the mag strike works is it has a spring in the actuator. So it's both releasing air into the magazine to fire the dart, but it's also moving an arm back and forth, which advances the magazine. But it's an incredibly simple piece, so it's very, very easy to adapt.
Yeah.
It just sort of
So-
ratchets through.
Yeah, that's kind of what the black box does. Actually, on a lot of my recent build, I've got solenoid valve in it, and basically I just cut the tube between the trigger and the black box, and all you have to do is feed air right into the black box, and it will fire your darts. So it's super
Right.
easy to move around. You just have to keep the shell, which has all the mounts in it.
Right. And one other thing too about running with an LPA is the reason, like, the Mag Strike and the Rapid Madness will run at anywhere between 40 to 45 psi, but the reason we have to run it at about 40 to 50 is because when you actually actuate it, there's actually an initial dip in the air pressure before the air really starts flowing. So
Yeah,
if you
before the
set
regulator
your
can catch up.
Yeah, if you set your regulator to 45, it's going to dip down about 10 psi, and then it's going to hesitate and not actually fire. So you kind of got to give it a little bit of extra to overcome the low end dip when you initially start firing it.
So that's
Yeah.
the flow rate issue then out of the regulator,
I'd
really.
say that's actually a
Right.
regulator issue.
That's probably what that is. For the Rapid Madness, the minimum firing pressure, or PSI, is 24. Once you go below that, you can't fire anymore. So I've got a ton of lee room in there.
Right.
Gotcha. So for people to understand what we're kind of talking about when we mean regulators, the easiest way to understand that is when we have a look at the paintballs, because it's so severe. The paintball tanks that Liam and I run store their air at either 3,000 typically or 4,500 psi. Now that is way too much.
That's
And
basically a cause for explosion in any other tank.
Exactly, but in order to use it, what we do is we take that and we use a regulator, which basically just reduces the pressure. So the first stage reg on a paintball tank takes
Usually
it.
the only stage reg on most paintball tanks.
Yeah, so normally in a paintball you would want the pressure that comes out of the first stage, which is about 300 to 800, depending on what you're using. But then you have to take it down to an actual usable Nerf pressure, and so if we jump to a picture of Jed's or Zombona's setup, you can see it really easily where you've got a regulator to then take that pressure to whatever pressure you want. And so that's a really important part of these designs, because having that adjustability in your pressure allows you to tune whatever performance you want.
Which is one of the wonderful...
I got a picture of Jed's arm regulator on his arm.
Yep,
Yeah.
I have my
right there at the top of
regulator
the tank.
is actually mounted on my bicep. So I have easy access to read the gauge and adjust it as needed right there on my arm. And as you can see, I also have a ball valve, so I can cut off the pressure if need to. So if something happens with my Nerf gun, I'm not just losing all my air pressure. I got an emergency off valve.
I don't have that.
Yeah,
I've got...
If I lose my
Make.Sure
pressure, I
has a
just have to
safety
go
as
back to
well.
I just have to go back to my car and fill the tank back up if I lose my pressure.
Yeah.
So that actually raises a question. How do you guys fill your tank? Because Liam and I have to take ours to either a scuba shop or a paintball field.
Bicycle
I'll address
hand
mine
pump.
later.
I started with a hand pump, and I was filling it up so much that I broke my pump. So I
Yeah,
went out.
that was...
I've gone through
same.
3 actually.
Yeah, so
Nice.
I spent the $100 and got myself a home regulator, and that makes it so much easier now.
Gotcha. So you use a like an air compressor or something.
I
Yeah,
bought
just
a nicer
regular
pump.
household air compressor.
Gotcha.
I
And is
think I
that
bought like a $40 pump off Amazon for me.
gotcha?
Yeah.
So is that air compressor mounted on the rig itself, or do you leave that somewhere?
No, that's just like a regular shop compressor. So, if you go to a hardware store and it's like what you would use with a nail gun or air tools, like in a car
So
shop.
like a
So, yeah, so I'll fill it up at home, and usually most times I'm going home in between Nerf wars or whatever. So I just need to fill it up once for the day, and usually I'm good.
gotcha.
That's really good. Like, yeah, Ryan, you've had to fill yours at a scuba shop, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. So when I want to fill my scuba tank, I have to take it to a store, throw them $5 or so, and then they pressurize that up.
Yeah, how long does
Right.
it take them to fill it, like from empty, if you've ever seen it?
I'm not sure. Usually I will drop it off on the Saturday, pick it up on the Sunday.
Fair enough.
The pumps they have, and as far as I know, you actually went and bought one, right?
Yeah, that's my rig because like I've actually gone. I used to go to a paintball field all the time in order to fill my bottle, but it was just getting to be like not out of my way as such because it's not really a problem for me to pop out and see the guy that does it, and he doesn't have a problem filling it. But it was just like sometimes I don't have the convenience if I want to go to a war like the next week and I don't have time to drop into him because he's
Yeah.
not always available during the week. So I invested more money than I care to disclose. That's a word.
Isn't that just the way?
And so basically invested in what is called a shoebox compressor, which is a booster for a shop compressor. Now, it's interesting you mention a shop compressor, Jed, because what my shoebox compressor does actually plugs into the shop compressor that I have, and what it does is it uses the air from the shop compressor and then boosts the output so that it can actually go into a paintball tank. And so
Okay, all right.
my shoebox runs
Wait,
at
you're using an
85
air
psi.
compressor to power another air compressor?
Yeah.
It's like a really glorified pump.
Yeah.
I bet
Okay.
that takes a while to fill.
Oh, it does. The shop compressor operates at 85 psi, and thanks to some filters and stuff that I've bought, I get some clean air straight through to my bottle, and the bottle can fill right up to 4,500 psi over the course of 4 hours.
That's
Yep.
wild. Yeah, the original reason
Takes
I
about that
went
long
the
to charge a
route.
lipo.
Yeah.
That's what I like
Um,
about your Kevin's and Ari's rigs is because they don't take as long to pump, I guess.
5 minutes. And
Yeah.
I'm done.
I can fill mine up in a minute.
Yeah.
I get a workout for filling mine up.
Well, out of curiosity, so does that mean is there a heat issue for Liam and Ryan when these tanks fill? Like,
No.
are the
Definitely.
tanks pre-made to take the heat that would be created from the rise in pressure?
Because mine's such
It's
a
done so slowly.
because it's such a slow pressure curve over time, it's actually not as bad on the tank itself. The tank gets fairly consistent pressure and it goes right up to 4,500 without issue. And like by the time I take it off, the tank has raised pressure about, I'd say, 10 degrees above room pressure tops. So it's not, there's barely any moisture going in because I've got a moisture filter, and the shoebox itself is actually the more prone to heat because that's going through such a constant cycle. It will heat up quite a lot as the pressure increases. So the metal components inside are rated to take that heat, but it is definitely recommended for the longevity of the system that I actually have an external fan blowing through a vent to keep
cool it.
the actual metal components cool.
Yeah, air cooling.
Now it's funny you mention heat because that's how I've lost 2 of my previous pumps.
Yeah,
Um,
they'd overheat.
The rubber hose and the components right by the base of the pump would actually heat up so much that it would just kind of fall apart and explode on me.
Even some of the
Nice.
rubber plunger heads inside the pump itself, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Like my
Well,
way
obviously,
down.
when you compress things, they get hot. That's just how physics works. So
Yeah, it's like one of the fundamentals of thermodynamics.
So,
unavoidable issue there. But
do we want to talk safety now, and or just talking about
don't blow
rig-
yourself up. Watch out for getting an air embolism. We're done.
No,
Oh,
there's
just
a bit more
also
than
wanted.
that.
I've got a string of images here of Jed's rig and also his tank and how he he said he
Oh,
had
how we
some
mount the tanks. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a big issue that should be talked about because we're carrying. Well, Liam and I are carrying a bomb around on our back.
Don't say that out loud. That's gonna trigger someone on the internet.
And
Police.
Jed and Zombona are carrying a giant steel, tank. So How
Mine's
do you
actually in
guys
a backpack,
manage?
so no one knows.
Okay. So you
That
keep it in a
explains why people
backpack.
go, "What the hell?"
They just wonder why I'm huffing and puffing to get upstairs.
I thought you were getting a workout from filling it up.
Specifically,
That's
I
in the
did want to
arms.
ask Jed about his rig.
Sure.
Because he also had some video he wanted to use as an example.
Yeah, do we have that available
Hang on, let me
reference?
bring it up.
I'll start. I'll talk about a
Yep.
few while you're working on doing that. So yeah, I originally started with this is the Vier half-gallon tank, and first of all, I went with this tank because it's prefabricated for that type of pressure. I steered away from doing the PVC tank and everything, just because I was going for safety as number one. So I have on that tank. I have a regulator valve so that if the tank were ever overpressurized, it would automatically release the air pressure. So my tank can never be overpressurized by accident by any means. But also, when I first did the original build, I should have a picture in there of at least the original build. I encased the tank inside of a acrylic case, which I mounted on a wood frame. I started with this because I had anticipated bringing my mod. I played HVZ, so I would bring it in between classes. So I anticipated possibly bringing it to class. So I created this acrylic case because I had foreseen I didn't want anyone to mess with, releasing the pressure and thereby screwing me trying to go to the next
Sorry,
class.
I just want to jump in to say that bringing that into a lecture theater or a tutorial would be the most amazingly awesome thing.
It'd be like carrying a
Yeah.
trophy cabinet around on your back.
Oh, I did.
That's what it sounds like.
I actually, funny story is I was playing HVZ and this was my business capstone class. And in my business capstone class, I was selected as one of my group members to lead a discussion with a real business, asking them questions about their business for our final project. And I did this with my Nerf gear. So yeah, that was very entertaining. Actually, it was a very pleasant surprise from everyone who were asking me questions about HVZ and thought it was pretty cool. So it ended up going favorably for me in that instance.
Nice.
But I digress. As far as the tank, getting back to that, it looks like we have the video up. This video was from our HVZ game, and I started with the acrylic case because I intended to make sure people wouldn't mess with it. And I thought I would protect the tank. I didn't want anything striking the tank by accident and, causing any sort of damage to the tank. What I did not foresee, though, is, and you can actually see as was captured in this video, is that someone collided with my tank. So I succeeded in protecting my tank system, but where I failed is in injuring someone else by not thinking
At the
about
cost of someone
what
else,
if.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Sorry guys, just to let the stream know, for some reason the video playback of the specific one he's talking about with the collision is doing this weird distortion, so I can't. I'm trying to bring it up and I've reloaded it back into the thing, but it's not playing back. But yeah, sorry about that.
no problem. But essentially, someone collided with this acrylic case, and so I realized that I had to change my mod for not just my own safety and the safety of my gear and protecting my investment, but also, if
You don't want
someone
to clock
else
someone
gets
in the head with a giant metal
Yeah.
thing.
if someone else is getting injured during the game, well, that just kind of ruins the tone of the whole game.
Yeah.
And kind of defeats the purpose of having fun. So I ended up I drastically reduced the footprint of my mod, of the tank down to laying flat on my back, and then created a dense foam case to cover the tank entirely. So if someone collided with it, it would minimize any injury.
And that's
So
pretty
you can
important in HVC as well, because,
It's a
zombies
sick-
charging at you.
Right, yeah, because that's how it happened is people are just swarming us and running at us and they're not thinking I'm going to collide with a big metal case. They're not thinking that's going to happen. So it's my responsibility to think of those things. So and actually the foam I used was cannibalized out of a busted Dance Dance Revolution gamepad. So
Nice.
wore it out so much that the controller didn't function, but it had this really nice 3/4 inch thick foam, which was intended to keep its structure even after being pounded on a lot while still providing cushion. So it was the perfect material to use as a collision protection.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So personally, so my scuba tank is aluminium. It's about, I've seen a cross section. It's maybe half-inch thick aluminium. So it's
Whoa.
pretty damn sturdy because it's designed for scuba diving, and so it's already designed to handle abuse. And I never intended to use this in HVZ, so instead of using a foam cover, what I did to protect my tank is I got the guys at BSUK to sort of stitch me up a sort of like a sock that just sort of slides over the tank.
I was gonna say sleeve.
Yeah, sleeve. It goes over the tank so that it
Nothing like a
covers
tank
it.
sock.
Yeah, exactly. But what I did is I got them to put some foam inside of that, so it does give it a little bit of cushioning. So if someone was to accidentally hit themselves, it would still probably hurt quite a lot. There's nothing much I can really do about that, but I'm never really running at people with it. I'm either far back or sneaking up behind someone with a rocket launcher, because I either use it. I mainly use my rig actually to fire these rockets. In our game mode, rockets are pretty powerful. If you get hit by them, you're out for 3 minutes or so. So I've just got a simple fill valve for a Titan, so I don't have to wait to pump it up. So I can just run in, shoot someone, run out.
Yeah, that sounds fairly fun. And like with my own tank as well, because it's actually a lot smaller and it's about a liter in capacity. Like when you look at how big the tank is itself, it's got 2 layers of cushioning because it's got the actual tank sock itself, which is literally just what most paintballers use. And so you throw that on and you actually get cushioning. It's say like you're using it on a paintball gun. You basically rest against your shoulder and you're not feeling the hard metal or the hard carbon fiber against your skin. And then on top of that, I've actually got a pouch for that, which is mole compatible, and I've thrown on my vest. So I can actually just throw the whole bottle into the pouch, and it's socked and backed with like nylon. So basically, it's set where it is. It's not going to move, but it's just comfortable.
Secured.
Yeah, and
I mean, a paintball tank is already designed with paintball in mind, so you don't really have to worry about the darts hitting it. So as long as it's protected from people hitting it, it's fine.
Yeah, the only thing protruding from my pouch is actually the second regulator setup, and the first on-off, because my system has one on-off at the ball and a second or third, if you count the 2 Nittos I have on it. It's got a second ball valve on-off on a disconnectable hose. So if I want to run around with one of my air blasters mid-game, and suddenly it isn't going too well, I can turn it off at the ball valve and disconnect it at the actual hose itself, which makes the system very easy to maintain if problems arise and I need to swap to another blaster.
Exactly, makes it modular. Is that something that you guys have done, Zombona and Jed? Because I know I designed my thing around the same idea of using disconnects to swap.
You can. All mine are based on the disconnect of air compressors. So I've got a couple blasters that I can hook up to it. I've got. I didn't submit pictures for this, but I've got a Bullpup Rapid Madness that's blue. I've got the Madness pistol. I've got the Twisted Madness. Those 2 I have pictures of. And then I've also got a pistol that I just recently made.
Nice.
So I've actually got 4 blasters I can hook up to my tank.
Yeah, it's using just traditional 1/4 inch NPT. So like I could literally hook up a nail gun to my tank system because it's the same exact connection. I probably won't do that because unless it's a zombie apocalypse, but it's the same connectors that you do. So I can actually just go down to the hardware store. If I'm building another one, I just got to grab another one of that connector and use it to adapt to whatever air hose that blaster is using.
Yeah, Ryan. What disconnects do you use, Ryan?
I just use knockoff Nittos.
Yeah, fair enough. Sorry, Ari.
So if the Twisted Madness picture comes up, you can see in the top right corner the connection I actually use.
Yeah, I see it there. So you got a barb in it. Makes sense. So one of the things people might be a little bit curious about is how these things are made and what sort of parts you need. Now, I guess it's really difficult to list every single thing here in the stream. But what we'll do is when we put this up on YouTube, we will have some spreadsheets that have been put together for some parts list. And if anyone is curious, there is a Facebook group that we have called High Pressure Airheads. So if you're curious to learn more about this and how to build them, definitely jump in there.
Yeah, Kevin also had a bunch of a
Spreadsheet of parts.
Spreadsheet of parts.
Yeah,
of links.
I have on my WordPress site. I actually have not just the list of parts, but actually for most of them, the links to where you can buy them for the best price, at least in the U.S.
Yeah, mine are all just Amazon links, but I have a similar list as well.
Yeah, but essentially it comes down to a couple of core parts. You have the air storage, which is the tank. Then you have whatever mechanisms to get the air pressure to the right pressure that you want to use. So
a bike valve for me and Jediah.
Yeah, the regulators, and for paintball, first stage reg, second stage reg, and then you've got basically just all of the utility stuff. So
then a release valve for me. I know because I want to let the pressure out at night, so it doesn't sit there and.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I can just fill it up the next day.
That's another really important thing that you should make sure when you're doing one of these things is have an OPV. Yes, everyone always says you plug the pumps, but on this sort of thing, you don't need to. You want to have a release.
Yeah.
Mine's actually just a straight up valve that I unwind and it just releases all the pressure at once.
So bit of backstory for my build. I have to give a shout out to one of the old guys from Sydney Nerf Wars, Psycho. He built a mag strike B-bum. Yeah. So he had a mag strike bladder that filled a B-bum tank, the Busby Ultimate Missile Blast. And so I went, wow, that's really cool. I should do that with an air compressor. So the build never eventually happened because I kept going, okay, instead of using a mag strike bladder, I'll use 2 mag strike bladders.
Oh, yeah, you just kept improving it in your head, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I kept half building it, and then I went to the same tank as Kevin was using, except in metric. And I still use that, actually. I use it as sort of like a test bench sort of thing.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that is, with those, you just screw in a, 150 psi overpressure valve, and you can just pull that out for safety.
I believe that's a video we might do in the future. What is it? Well, I'm not sure what we'd call it. Something like past failures or lessons learnt in modding. Because we still have this thing that Ryan has kind of concocted together that has
it's so gross. It's a stampede with a mag strike bladder glued to the bottom of it.
And he's also using this is before he was enlightened
lipo
batteries, and he had truss fire.
Don't say truss fires.
Truss fires for his compressor pump.
No, you had to say it.
You had to say it, didn't you?
Yeah. So I ran a shitty little air compressor that was in the back of the Stampede off 3 or 4 truss fires.
Oh.
That was bad times.
Yeah. On topics of that you having your little bladder or your test bed, I do the same thing because my shop compressor is a 40-litre tank. And so when I'm actually testing out air blasters that I'm working on, I actually just because I've got Nitto quick disconnects on my my
just connect it straight to
on my
the
bottle.
shop compressor.
I can connect it straight to the shop compressor's hose as well, and basically regulate whatever pressure I'm at down to whatever pressure I want to run at on my shop compressor's regulator, and use it for testing. And I've done, yeah, that's made life a lot easier because it means when my bottle's running low, I don't actually have to put it in the shoebox or like take it out to the paintball field to test my blasters.
Exactly.
I can just throw the compressor in for like 30 to 40 seconds, and suddenly I've got 40 psi in the tank for me to run with.
Now, the last step of a HPA build is another point where the four of us vary very significantly, and that's the actual air blaster itself. And so if you have any photos of the internals, actually, while you guys are chatting, I will hunt down mine to show it off because I got a fairly good picture.
Up on screen at the moment, I've got something that's in a crossbow. I think this is from you, Kevin.
No, the thing with the crossbow is actually from me.
Is it? Oh, okay.
What it is similar to what Ryan was saying about Psycho before with the bladder and the B-bum. And what I've actually done there is performed an ancient act of heresy known as not making a crossbow a Springer. And
yeah, I was thinking that too.
And my girlfriend just over on the bed beside me has cringed because she remembers it as a Springer and will always love it for the Springer it was. And like this was one of the things I wanted to try as a matter of like seeing if it could work, and it's a bladdered XBZ. Now, like,
have you tank expanded it on the back there, or is that just cupping off where the pump was?
That's the actual like build at the moment is very similar to what you see there. I'll basically explain it. It's meant to be pump powered, and so I still haven't had a chance to add the pump to that photo, but the actual build itself was meant to be pump powered.
Sorry to interrupt you, Liam. Yeah. Guys, if you've got any other internal pics you've got that you want to share
I'm just throwing mine in the Dropbox now.
I'm about to get mine in there too.
Due to agreements I've had with people, I can't really. It's not.
That's cool.
It's because I respect the intellectual property of others.
I really wanted to talk about the differences between the internals, so using the stock Nerf as opposed to building QEV based things. And
I'll see if I can find a photo of the Red Baron, because that one I can.
Yep.
But yeah, the
But yeah, continue. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right.
Just wanted to let the guys know.
Yeah, the point of that build is to make a bladder-fed XBZ, and traditionally, because XBZs are like back pressure based builds, what people have found in the past is as opposed to like bladder-fed B-bums, which have a pull valve which automatically closes, when you open the pilot valve, which dumps the air for an XBZ, because there's a bladder still feeding a constant source of air in, it doesn't cut the flow off. You're going to basically get the rest of your air sort of pissed out as a way of
you
like
need a
wasted
second
air.
valve. And that's one of the things that I helped what's-his-face through. You do need a valve in order to cut off the supply to an XBZ before you can actually fire it successfully.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Justin has got up on the screen. If you've got my Raven that I've put in,
hang on,
we can go through.
Brought it up yet? One sec. Dropbox.
Yeah.
Because this is the simplest reduction of the best way to do a homemade air blaster.
Put it into that Dropbox, don't I?
In my opinion, obviously I'm biased.
Is it a ghost?
What's that?
I think the ghost. That was a pretty easy air mod. That was actually my first.
The Mad Ghost or Slap Ghost.
Oh yeah, that was super easy.
that I wouldn't really call that an air blaster because
that's a hamp.
Does it not fire on air?
Well, you have to call a Springer an air blaster then. Because it is
still firing compressed air.
That was literally just a plunger for clearing toilets that I was hitting with my hand.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I've got your ugly stick up.
Okay, so the
ugly stick.
Yeah. This is sort of so Liam and myself's designs work. So instead of using any sort of Nerf internals, what we have is completely sort of scratch-built mechanisms. And there's 3 really important parts inside. So if you have a look in the stock, which is a long shot stock I've put on the back of the Raven, there's 3 parts. The white and black one on the right-hand side is a solenoid valve. It's a 2-position 3-way valve.
And it's electric.
And it's powered by electric. So if you'll notice, the trigger is actually a micro switch instead of any sort of pneumatic press switch. And what that does is it takes the air in through the black air hose, and when I've released the trigger, it flows in through the valve, in through the QEV, which is the next thing I'll talk about, and then into that copper air tank that another Liam, a friend of mine, brazed up for me, which fantastically strong and will never explode because it's rated for 800 psi.
Gorgeous.
And so and then when you press the trigger, what that solenoid does is reverse. And what it does is it vents a little bit of air out the back of the QEV and seals off the main air tank. And what happens is inside the QEV, a tiny little piston flips, and then instead of the air going in the back and filling the tank,
I'd call it more of a
swaps.
diaphragm, to be honest.
It's a diaphragm that gets blown
Oh,
backwards.
whatever,
Yeah.
it's piston.
Yeah.
But the thingy inside it, it's a little rubber thing,
Technical term.
swaps and vents the air tank out the barrel. And then every time you press and you alternate between open and close, it just alternates between filling the air into the tank and dumping it all out the barrel. And it's incredibly efficient. It's far more efficient than using a pin pull. And every time you fire it, it will pull. It's like if you've ever fired a B-bomb or a 4B, if you pull the pin slowly, you get an absolutely terrible result. And this effectively fires at max.
You get a hiss.
Every time. Yeah, exactly.
Because it's electric. Yeah, and that's
No. It's not the electric. It's just the QEV flipping. Because the moment the QEV triggers, it dumps all of the air in
Titans
one
also
go.
have-
Oh yeah, the
It almost
QEV,
explodes the air out, right?
Sort of, yeah.
Actually,
It's like a
this is
one-way valve
where
flipping.
this is
Yeah,
where
it releases all the
the
pressure
next
at
thing
once.
happens. Like, you're getting an instant dump because you're using an instant a solenoid which produces enough flow rate to actually have an instant result. What I've found is that even in back pressure tanks, you can still have a really slow dump rate if your pilot valve is really slow too. Like if I've experimented with my Red Baron.
If it's too small.
The trigger in that is actually, if the flow rate's too slow, or if you're pressing the trigger too slowly, then you'll actually get, and it makes a sort of farting noise, like because it's trying to push more air than it can take, and so it goes, and so
that's
it actually fires.
interesting.
And I can tell
So the actual
my good
diaphragm
shots
is
from my
vibrating
slow
because your rear is venting slower than the barrel, so it actually seals the QEV back up.
yeah.
Wow, okay.
The way you said that. But yeah.
Next image we've got up is Zombona's internals and how he's connecting into the black box.
The mystery box. We were
Yeah,
talking
I
about
mean-
this before the stream starts, and we all just sort of
It's
threw our
a-
hands up and went, nope.
I mean, it's kind of complicated unless you've taken it apart 4 or 5 times, which I have. So you can see in this picture where the air is coming in at. Instead of having a pump, I'm actually having the air just come straight in to where the pump would go. In the stock blaster, all that air would then go into the tank, which is in that little white cylinder right there. Not the tank, it's a bladder. And there's another picture I sent. If you switch to that one, then you can see.
I've got the
Yeah, if you switch to that
back
one, you
of
can
it?
see that I've actually capped off the tank with a 3/4 inch CPVC cap. And if you MMA glue that or DevCon that on there, it's not coming off. And so as soon as you pull the trigger, it opens up that valve, and it just lets all the air straight into the black box. So the black box is really forgiving in that you really just need to put air into it, and it will fire darts.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's sort of a kind of effectively like that thing that that sits in the mag strike. Right, that's
Which
sort
you
of
should
like
have
that
my
piston
internals
thing.
there
Yeah.
if you want to pull those up as well.
Yeah.
Better at
Hang
segues.
on.
What I found is like basically the mag strike's trigger valve
One
is,
sec.
for to be technical, it's a two-way, two-position normal closed valve. So basically, when you push the valve, it actually opens it, and then there goes your air. Piston, shoot, piston, shoot, piston, shoot.
Yeah, the
There we
mag
go.
strike has always intrigued me because you
yeah.
don't really have terribly much control about the power of it, because the spring and the air work together to decide exactly how much air you're firing, right?
Yeah, so the
Right.
inverse
Same with
compressor
Yeah.
doesn't do
Rapid
Oh,
much.
there's the picture of it. Yeah, the mag strike's interesting in that it's an air-powered Springer in one sense. And the spring is inside. You can see on the picture right there. That's all that the system is for a mag strike. It's ridiculously simple. As you can see there, there's the valve, which that goes into the trigger. So all I do is feed in air from the bottom hose going into that trigger valve. And when you pull the trigger, it opens the valve and then it goes into the firing mechanism. And you can see the arm there. Basically, that part goes back and forth and it advances the clip. And that will, together with the air pressure coming out, the air pressure is both moving the arm back and forth and it's going out of the holes into the magazine. So it's doing two things at once. But it's so small, that's how I've been able to fit like two mag strikes together or fit them together with other things like the rapid fire 20s, because it's just such a small footprint for the actual firing mechanism. And actually, for my twin mag strike, I cut off the part between the firing mechanism and the trigger and rerouted it up to the front. So it's very flexible in the way that I can adjust it too.
Because again, you
rearrange
just
the triggers.
air in, darts out type thing.
Yeah, basically. So it's pretty forgiving as well, kind of like the Rapid Madness. It's just the parts are even simpler. So I've been able to reduce the footprint of it to a ridiculously small amount to use them in a lot of creative ways.
Yeah, so the Rapid Madness, the Madness pistol, is my first attempt at making an air-powered blaster. And as you can see, it turned out pretty well. The goal was to make a Rapid Madness as small as possible.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so I've
just
literally
looking at that
got
cross section.
a
It's tiny.
I got a Retaliator-sized 40 FPS 10 dart per second blaster. And the thing fits in like the palm of my hand.
Yes.
It's I
It's
actually
like
got a
a
picture of it
mini-Uzi.
working with my gear.
Which
Let me
is
find it
there
real
we
quick
go.
for you.
definitely something I don't think is as achievable using QEVs and air tanks and valves and stuff, simply because they're not custom designed to do this. So with the
No.
Magstrack and the Rapid Madness, it's engineered specifically to do what you want it, whereas our
QEVs
builds you
are a
need a
lot
bit
more
more
work, and that's
base.
where the
I dropped a new
stampede that
picture
I
in there.
posted. There's a stampede I had that I actually spent a lot of time working on. Most of the people that have watched it or will watch this Twitch will know my Red Baron build, and that was the Raven that I did. But that was only semi-automatic, and it operated on a similar principle to Ryan's Ugly Stick. It was released after Ryan's Ugly Stick, and it actually done a lot of work before me, and unfortunately I was late to that party. But
That was sort of the funny thing. Liam and I, we came up with the exact same idea, like completely independently, and just went, "Hey, that is so similar to what I'm doing. Are you sure you didn't
Yeah, we're
just
both
straight
going,
up
"Did you copy me?"
yeah.
And so
Yeah, so if we can transition to my picture, that actually shows how small the pistol is. It's
The
it's
mag
almost
is
as big
bigger
as
than
a
the
40 round
pistol
clip.
almost.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. And in that picture, I've got 5 40 rounds, so that's 200 darts right there at my beck and call.
That's just
You can't beat that capacity.
No, I wouldn't even try.
It's also so compact. I've seen Ryan
That-
with his giant chest rig, and he's carrying 18 rounds.
Yeah, like and that
Even
is that
smaller than mine as well.
that's even less than what I'm carrying.
Yeah.
10 or no, it's not. 1018s would be less than what I'm carrying.
Damn.
The heaviest part of that loadout is the backpack carrying the air tank.
Yeah, that's understandable because that air tank will weigh a lot.
We got up on screen Jed's mag holders on the front of your chest rig.
I actually use. I went to a overstock army place and bought saw ammo pouches.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yep.
And 4 Magstrike mags fit perfectly in one pouch. So I actually right now I own 21 Magstrike magazines.
Nice.
But I usually only would carry about. I have 3 of those pouches, and I might carry a spare one hanging on the clip, and then I'll have the 2 in my Magstrike as well too. So I won't carry them all at once. I just acquired a bunch of extras so that if I decide to eventually make some 20-round Magstrike clips or maybe even some other type of mods with them, I can afford to sacrifice a few and not lose any.
Hey, so when you say saw pouches, the guy who I first encountered a Magstrike with, he used the exact same thing, except in Australia we call it the Minimi. So he was just using those pouches in the exact same way. So it's definitely a very effective way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, this was almost made to go in here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's nice when that happens. Yes. We had some more internal picks. One sec.
Were you able to get that YouTube video as well too that I sent you a link for?
Oh yes, your shell. I'll try once again. Actually, we'll see if I can do that now. See if...
Sure.
I'd like to interject really quickly. Arcane gamers, I'll answer your question a little bit later.
Yeah. No, we'll don't worry. I'm doing questions at the end.
We'll do chat questions at the end.
But that
the
sort
cost.
of
That's
question
one we should cover.
is definitely the next sort of talking point to sum this kind of up a little bit, because there's 2 different ways of doing it with 2 very, very different price tags.
Yes.
So how much would you estimate the cost of your build, Ari and Zombona, at?
Probably right at around $100 with the tank and all the fittings.
Really good.
Just probably right underneath that, because the tank is between 40 and 50 depending on where it's at on Amazon at the time.
Right.
And
so
then a decent
including
regular
the
is
tank's about $40.
between 10 and 25.
Yeah, so maybe 150 all up, including.
No, I don't think it's even that hard. That
Well, with the
high
blaster
up,
and all the mags and stuff.
Yeah, with the blaster and the mags, 150 probably.
Whereas, unfortunately,
which is like what, half the tank for you guys?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's half the price of a paintball tank.
Yes.
So, the cost for high pressure is definitely significantly higher.
However, the output is also like it's a very high cost, high reward depending on how you want to play. Because like I've done up a document that's actually in the pin post of high pressure airheads, and it comes to about 400 Australian to get all the components you need to make a high pressure air blaster that is based around power output.
Yeah.
All right. Cutting back in. We now got the internal video of Jed's internals for his.
That is a sexy looking blaster.
Yeah, for his Magstrike and Rapid 20 integration.
Yeah. So once I kind of see it come up here, I used. I took it to the next level with my Magstrike and decided to integrate it into the body of a long shot. And then I decided, why the heck not? I'll throw in a rapid fire 20 while I'm at it. So actually what I did with that is the mechanisms in there are also pretty simple as well. You see, you got the same firing mechanism, and then the rapid fire 20 is basically stock as well too. All I did was cut off the airline in between the tank and the pump, and so what I have going on is both the airlines are extended to go over into a T valve, and the mag strike is on an extended line going into the mag strike trigger, and I was able to get the mag strike trigger implemented in the long shot shell just how I wanted.
okay.
So the long shot trigger is stock, but I just cut off the long arm that would normally release the long shot mechanism, and it just actuates the mag strike
Yeah, that little valve.
trigger. Yep. And so then both triggers, the line coming off the tank from the rapid fire 20 and the line coming off of the mag strike trigger, just go into a T valve, and that just goes out into a 1/4 inch NPT valve. So the rapid fire 20, I can actually still use the switch between single fire and full auto fire, and this might be a later step mod I do to it, but I can the rapid fire 20 tank is still intact. So if I actually manage to install a one-way valve in that T valve, I could cut off the air supply and still fire, I believe, about 1 or 2 mag strike mags or a full rapid fire 20.
Off the actual RF-20 tank.
Right, so I have both an external tank
pretty
and
sexy.
a secondary internal tank as well, too.
Brilliant.
So I might do some more work on that. It still fires at least and works pretty well. I haven't field tested it yet, but I'm sure I'll do some more work on that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, so filling basically a buffer tank is definitely a great idea, because then you don't have as much sort of lag as the air fills the hose in front of it, I guess.
Right, and actually what I was thinking of doing is I could probably also implement a pump as well too. So this could actually work as a pump system. I don't even have to use an external tank if I put a pump on there. If I have
got a
good
couple
one-way
spare
valve.
Rapid Madness pumps if you want one.
There we
That
go.
would be
I think like
awesome.
4 or 5.
Hell, I mean,
I have
you
to do
stick the
something
pump
there.
out of the bottom of the grip or the handguard
The,
or something.
Yeah, the
So-
Rapid
Yeah.
Madness pumps are actually double action, so that it compresses air both in the forward stroke and the backstroke.
That's really
Ah.
good by BoomCo.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Might have to get one of those off the.
That being said, a mag strike pump has no OPV, so it could go higher pressure if you need that to get to the 40 or 50 psi that you use.
Well, the pump doesn't have an OPV. It's the actual bladder that has
Yeah.
the OPV in the Rapid Madness.
Oh, it's on the okay.
That's the same with the rapid fire 20 too. Is that like I found the pump doesn't need the OPV, because as soon as the RF20 bladder or the mag strike bladder hits the back of the casing, it actually activates the overpressure valve there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Hang on, let's see. The guys are sending me more images that I have to then load into the slideshow, guys, so just...
Don't show mine yet.
Which one?
The 4 I just put in.
Hang on. Wait.
what?
Show 'em.
They're for later if you guys want to see that. I got a Hyperfire, and so I can talk about that if you guys want.
Oh yeah, we were meant to lead with Nerf news. I guess we'll end with Nerf news about the Hyperfire and that, but we'll come back to that in how much time? Where are we at for time?
We're a bit
20
over
past
time at the
11.
moment.
Okay, we're a little bit over time. We got one last internals look from Liam. Let me bring that up. So what do we got? We've got the guts of
The Red Baron.
the Red Baron here by the look of it.
So this is where the output starts to get higher. Like this blaster is based around trying to maintain a fairly controllable rate of fire, so it's definitely still usable for like more than one shot at a time. But at the same time, it's also a semi-automatic build, and it's designed for high range. So anywhere upwards of like I can tune it as low as 150 FPS and as high as something like say 300 350 FPS if I wanted to.
When the tip starts breaking off the foam.
Oh well, if the tip is hot glued on, that doesn't happen.
We did some
this sort of
testing with
event-
FVJs, and yeah, we had
don't use FEJs.
yeah.
Don't use FVJs at that
Well-
velocity.
Yeah.
You can't. And for
Ooh.
us, you've really got to transition to Stephens or really heavyweight darts because otherwise they're just not accurate enough.
Yeah,
You know,
They're
I
looking
can
like leaves
fire
in a
out.
hurricane.
Yeah, exactly. You know that was the main reason I don't use the Raven as much. Well, I used it once really because with the darts that we use, it's just inaccurate as all hell. So
I
there's
agree with that entirely.
absolutely no point.
We were shooting it at cardboard. The dart would pierce the cardboard,
And
and
the
the
tip would
tip
exit.
would keep going, and the
I
foam
remember
would get
seeing
stuck
that.
in the cardboard.
Yeah, I did that at the last SBNC where I was at with my Stampede actually, which is a full automatic version, and that's a lot more work than the actual semi-automatic of the Red Baron because there's another valve and some jiggery pokery and engineering to go with it. But that Stampede, it was I fired a dart at a photon storm box, and like the first shot was a little underpowered, so the actual the head got itself wedged in the second layer of the photon storm, like the exiting, and the second dart exited. And so it was like bang bang. Oh crap! One's actually exited, one's stuck. And so the people there were like, "Whoa."
I had to putty up holes in a wall as we were leaving our rental place because we had dents in the plaster from the heads that had punched through that cardboard.
Oh dear.
So that wasn't fun.
Guys
Yeah.
are nuts.
Well, that's the thing. Like with the power of air pressure, anything is possible. You know, we've got 800 plus FPS darts just from mucking around.
Yeah.
It's just use more and more and more until you get the result you
You
want.
find the pressure threshold for darts faster than you find the pressure threshold for the actual tank.
That's
That's not really the problem with BoomCo. Those are some pretty sturdy darts, if I do say so myself.
Ooh.
Yeah, but they probably might not seal inside the barrels that we use.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there a breach material for BoomCo?
Actually, if you put super glue around a BoomCo tip, this was discovered by Taruk McTow 04. If
How
you
you
super glue
doing,
the
Walker?
tip, then the tip loses its tackiness and becomes like cracked, and you can actually put that through a breach. There's a brass tube size that you can use for it, and I can't remember off the top of my head because I've only bought one length of it
I'm
like
gonna
a year and a half ago.
take a stab and probably say it'd be closer to about 5/16. Because BoomCo
cool.
darts are smaller, aren't they?
Yeah, BoomCo darts are 0.4 inches, or around 0.4, whereas Nerf darts are 0.5.
So you'd probably be looking at say about 0.4 is 2/5, so you'd be looking at about 6/16 or so.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm checking
It'd
my
be-
Amazon purchase history to find it.
it'd be interesting to see what happens. I have absolutely no idea how BoomCo darts fly.
Actually, BoomCo darts fly fairly straight up until the critical point where they fold in upon themselves. It's not the flying that's the problem; it's when they hit something.
Right. It's the
The
stopping.
inertia.
All that accordion, all the ruffles near the tip will actually start to fold in on themselves, and then you can't breach them anymore because that's wider than the rest of the dart.
That's
So
not the fall that
that's-
kills you; it's the stop.
Yeah, it's about 120, between 120 and 140, where that's the critical FPS where you don't want to shoot a BoomCo dart any faster, and that's a triple springed M6 or far shot right there. We'll get you at 120.
Okay, cool. The only BoomCo dart, or the only BoomCo I've ever played with, was one that Justin got from Queensland, which is that sort of flippy one. I've no idea what
yeah.
it's called. You
Flick
pull the trigger and then you
yeah,
flip
I
it.
don't even own one of those ones. I didn't like them very much.
Oh man, it's fun though. You
It
flip
is fun, I will agree.
You flip it, and then it flips, and then
Yeah,
you
you're
shoot
holding
it.
you're holding the trigger, you just bang, shoot, bang, shoot.
Wait, is that the one that's operated by a clip?
No, not the clip one. That's the
not
the
the clip one.
the
It's
The
like the
single
tri-
shot
triangle
one.
one, isn't it?
It's the
It's the
single
single
shot
shot
one
one,
that
yeah.
Pete before they released the clip fed ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
that
just
brass
rule of
tubing for
cool.
BoomCo darts is 7/16 OD.
There we go.
7/16. Okay.
That's the what is it? Something engineering.
KNS metals.
Yeah.
I swear they're the only suppliers of hobby brass in the world.
They've got a friggin' monopoly on nerfers, I tell you.
Yeah, Amazon keeps sending me
MTB
the wrong
Brass
stuff.
project, you heard it here first.
Which actually,
Hey, I would support that.
I don't
know what?
think that's gonna happen, no.
you know what I would like to see? I would like to see someone try and fit pneumatic motors into a rapid strike.
Why?
Because, like,
Why not?
pneumatic motors
Like
are
an air wrench type motor?
Yeah,
that just
or like
spins?
air drill, things like that.
But why?
God, that's gotta be so inefficient.
Pneumatic motors have so much torque. It's stupid. You would get no spin
180s
down.
have stupid torque too.
I know. Like I don't know the actual stats for the Hellcats.
You
but
would need to store so much air to keep revving it and be so excessively wasteful.
It'd be so funny though for
That's what I would
a
like.
one-time thing.
It'd be good for like maybe 2 or 3 mags.
Proof of concept.
Where have we got?
Proof of
Hang on.
concept.
I'd call it more a disproof of concept more than anything.
Yeah, that too.
I think I can bring this up. Please do the thing.
Alright, so as we start to finish, what are you guys currently working on? Do we have any spoilers of what we can see?
A CO2 powered Rapid Madness.
Ah, is that using the canisters or?
The disposable little canisters with threads. I've got a ton of metal internals, so that whole rapid cooling thing isn't gonna affect my plastic too much.
Good.
Sweet. Yeah.
Jed?
Working on anything?
Yeah,
Wasn't sure
I've
if he
been
went to sleep
tinkering
there.
around with some ideas. I haven't gotten to the stage where I figured out implementation, but I've been trying to think of either how to maybe get a 3D printed Magstrike magazine where it's a cylinder. Something that I can do a whole bunch of darts at once, but not have a really long hanging out magazine, because if it's too long, it's not going to be able to be actuated up where it can fire the next dart. So I'm kind of investigating ideas on how to do that. I have enough mags that I could cannibalize to try something out. I've also thought about using the mag strike as a basis for some kind of turret.
You mean like
So-
RF-20 style or?
Kind of, but actually what I was thinking of doing is adapting it away from using the actual magazines to using rival ammunition, and basically making a Nerf paintball gun, but would be hoppered rival ammunition using a mag strike as the basis.
Now that's
Yes.
a fun idea.
Because it's a lot harder to properly hopper, Whistler darts. You can decently hopper, I mean, with the mags like you guys do on your mods for like the streamlines, but I think that I could adapt the mag strike internals to fire almost like a paintball gun with rival ammunition. So that's one idea I'm entertaining next.
That rate of fire would be sick.
So actually, one thing we didn't really cover is FPS out of our blasters.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to go over that real quick if we have time.
Oh, well, for me and Liam, it's literally whatever we want to get.
Yep.
You screw in a different air tank, you change the regulator, you can go anywhere from,
So
100
what did you get,
to
Zom?
500.
Mine's around 45, but with BoomCo darts, that they behave a little bit differently than Nerf darts. So 45 FPS gets you further than Nerf at 45 FPS.
How much? I didn't measure mine, but how much pressure did you use to accomplish that?
Oh, sorry.
Again, with the Rapid Madness, the pressure only makes it fire faster.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Much like a
So
mag strike,
minimum
I'm
firing
guessing.
pressure is 24, so probably around 24 psi to make it fire that fast.
Yeah. I haven't actually measured the FPS for my mag strike, but I have put 100 psi straight into a mag strike and fired it at 100 psi.
I'm
How did
glad your
that work
fittings didn't
out?
explode.
I unloaded that clip so fast, it was beautiful.
Yeah. That
It
was the
was
first time I saw a mag strike. It was just like, wow.
I think I could
My
confidently say
Rapid
the mag
Madness,
strike has one of the fastest rate of fires of any Nerf blaster.
Quite
my
quite
blaster,
possibly.
my Rapid Madness would fire an entire clip from one of yours in 1 second.
Yeah.
10 darts a
That's
second.
Did you say you put images into the Dropbox Zom about the hyperfire?
Yeah, they should be on the top there. Hyperfire, canted wheels, inbox,
Oh,
internals, and
right.
switch placement.
Yeah.
While Justin adds them into the slideshow, my last project, my current project, I guess, is actually a completely homemade pistol, HPA pistol. My objectives from here are basically to expand HPA's usability, much like Jed and Ari have, into super stock. So like they've gone for rate of fire while I've gone for repeatability, which is like I'm designing a pistol which is using a similar schematic to the actual Red Baron in order to fire half-length darts from a mag, but at super stock velocities. Because the Red Baron fires is basically my sniper primary sort of thing, and then using the actual blaster, I guess, of the pistol, I can actually get a sidearm out of it as well. And so it's actually reducing the form factor as well.
Yeah. So I'm just going to quickly throw in chat the link to the Facebook page. If anyone's interested in HPA stuff, if you head to that page, we're all there. It's just a collection of people who are familiar with and definitely able to assist if need be.
Yeah, I see the 3 people in this group already there, but I'm not.
I just added you.
Beat me to it. Yeah, so what? Oh yeah, projects. Obviously the video I put out quite recently showed off the shotgun shell I printed and tested. I am working towards building a HPA pump action shotgun. I've decided that for our wars, we're never going to be using the darts that will be heavy enough to properly utilize high velocity. And so in order to get better performance,
More
I'm
darts.
going to more darts, exactly. If each dart has a lower percent of chance to hit, fire more of them and I will hit.
That sounds a lot.
So how many are you firing?
The current plan is 4 at once per shell.
Hell yeah.
Quad shot.
Yeah, exactly. So the current design, I'm sort of holding the half prototype in my hand, is a double barrel, so 4 shots or 8 if I shoot both. But I could use half-length darts and get 8 per shell, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
8 would be a great lot of like shotgun.
Yes. But that's a little bit of a ways off. The first build is a sort of a double barrel break action shotgun because pump action is tricky. I've already got, the designs, but fabricating it, I need my printer to work properly because
What
there's a lot of
velocities are
printed
you aiming
parts.
to be firing at?
Oh, 100-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Not super high velocity, but just lots of darts in your face now. Hi.
Yeah. Alright. Very quick cap over for Nerf news. We've had the leak, because we haven't done the modcast in a few weeks. So the Hyperfire was leaked. Zombona in chat here also got his mitts on it, and also just yesterday or the day before, the guys in Singapore have their mitts on a Tri-Fire. as well. So the new Modulus, is it Tri-Fire, Tri-Strike? Tri-Strike.
Tri-Strike.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Check out Gavin Fuzzy's. Gavin Fuzzy said he was going to put up a video. I'll chuck that link in the description as soon as that comes up. Or whoever Psych might be putting up the video. Not sure who's doing it. Anyway, but going back to the Hyperfire, so give us the verdict, Zom.
It's a lot of fun stock. However, if you want to mod it in order to turn it into a primary, it's pretty worthless because of the canted flywheels. And I put in 2 honey badgers and then wired it up for a 2S battery. Rate of fire at 2S is okay. It's probably firing somewhere between 6 and 10 darts per second, because 3S is over 10, and stock at 6 volts is right around 5 and 6, so it's somewhere between there. It's pretty manageable. I can get 1 or 2 darts out whenever I want to. However, it's the flywheels that are the problem, because they're canted at supercritical speeds, which is, correct me if I'm wrong here, but 36,000 or higher.
I mean, it depends on the flywheels. For a normal flywheel cage, it's about 25,000 RPM. So I've got no idea for the Hyperfire because it's different.
Well,
yes,
they're running it. They're running it.
They're running high enough.
Honey badgers, yeah, they're super critical, and it's causing the darts to whirlybird a lot. It's probably about 1 out of every 3 darts is whirlybirding and being just generally useless, compared to a normal cage which has no whirlybird darts, and then also compared to a Snickus cage, which I have on my Strife, where it's about 1 out of every 10 darts. And the Snickus cage has a feeding tube, a brass tube, whereas this Hyperfire has nothing like that. So these canted flywheels are really hurting the modded performance of it. I don't like it post-mod, and I don't think I'm ever going to be able to use it until that gets fixed.
Do you
Either
think
by adding
brassing
more
it would actually
flywheels.
change the accuracy at all?
Brassing it, as Ryan and I have been talking outside of chat for the day, once I discovered this, brassing it takes away the spin, which makes it fly straighter.
So I'm just going to sit here with a really smug look on my face for the next 10
Because
seconds.
he knew, like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, he's known that it would be a problem.
Yep.
Oh, months ago? When we first did that little we did an investigation into the scar barrels. Gavin Fuzzy lent us, you drew some up. You drew up a bunch with different 12 rates, and we just were noticing twirling. So yeah.
So fun fact, I actually used the HPA Raven in order to test those because I could tune the pressure to get different FPS. So by knowing the FPS, I could say, okay, it's spinning at this rate. So I spun the darts at all sorts of different spins, and it doesn't matter if the dart is spinning, it flips out. It's just what happened.
It's just worthless. It's just worthless.
Yep.
So
I'm sorry for the early adopters who have jumped in and bought a Snickers cage or a Hawkeye cage or made their own.
The Snickers cage, I still have no problems with my Snickers cage.
If you took the brass barrel out, though, it would do the exact same thing.
Yeah,
I think what we really need to do is actually so this is coming up with our long-term series, is we need to do comparisons between uncanted stock cage, brassed stock cage, canted, brassed canted,
Blah,
and
blah,
just
blah.
compare
All the combinations.
and then
Next on
and
Make.Test,
also
Mythbust.
and also we need to I'm working on it. We might maybe one day is get a high-speed camera and actually just look at it and see if we can actually calculate the spin rate of what's actually coming out.
I've actually got a
interested to give
video
you some
of
stuff
all
in
the
that
spinning
trick.
darts,
Now,
and I'm about to link that in chat.
Yeah, I've tried bringing that video up, and for some reason it's doing this weird skewing
My link got
distortion thing.
deleted.
But that'll be a link in the description.
Can
Zombona's
you put it in
just
the
done a
TeamSpeak and I'll-
comparison on a black. He's got black background and firing the brightly coloured darts, and you can see how the darts are twirling in the air. So, all that said, though, when we did fire at we did some testing and at HVZ, and we're just firing our actual, darts we use at events, out of the Hawkeye cage with
no
the
brass.
180 motors. Yeah, no
No
brass.
brass.
How many we fire? Out of 10, we did 8 of them twirled out and fell short about what is
2
it?
meters.
20 feet. Yeah, it was just silly.
No, it's like 8 feet. But there was one shot that went really fucking dead
there was
straight.
2 shots. We had 2 shots though that went stupidly far. So those as outliers, we just need to establish why were those outliers. Was it because the way we're feeding them in? Because also to note, we were feeding these darts in by hand, and so maybe we weren't directly putting them straight in, and so maybe they were feeding into the flywheels slightly sideways, and that might be attributing to making the twirling spin out more. So I think it's something that needs to be seriously analyzed to remove all variables so we get definitive answers on it. So
I'd like to add to that when you're done.
Because you guys are saying quite definitively it's shit or useless. I think it needs to be analyzed more. But anyway.
Okay, so my addition to that would be at the moment there is a modder that has been quite controversial in the community. His name is Chris Cartea. And Ryan probably hasn't seen this because Ryan and Chris have had beef before. But Chris has actually developed rifled brass barreling, and it's not the same as the Scar barrel. It's actually 9/16 brass with a double helix on the inside that is made out of 1732 brass that he's then glued in. And has tested successfully to have an increase in FPS and accuracy. I haven't seen the actual accuracy itself, but I have watched videos of him hitting a flower pot at 40 feet. And this is a small flower pot. So I can not really quantify it physically, but I can anecdotally stand for it. And I've got a few on order for him, and so I'll be able to add to that. Does spin affect accuracy in Nerf darts?
Spoilers, no.
We'll find out.
I'll be able to add to that using this.
But honestly,
as well.
when we talk about does it actually help, if you do the statistics, you need to do the stats on it. Unless you're firing 100+ darts, you can't say one way or the other.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do.
A statistically relevant sample size.
That's exactly what I aim to do with his barrels, Ryan.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I can say that with Elite Darts, in that video that you linked in Elite Darts, there were no whirly darts. It was only with Koosh darts.
So that is probably because the Koosh darts are fatter, there's more grip, so more spin
Yes,
is
they
probably
are nice
put on
and
it.
fat with a pH.
Yeah.
Well, and also
that's my
weight
guess.
distribution, because the tips are heavier in
Yeah, and the whole reason that actually happens is because of the difference in the distribution of the weight. So the more weight you have closer to the front, the more it wants to spin around that axis as opposed to the long axis.
Yeah.
Now, I will say with the Snickers cage, though, I still feel like accuracy was increased.
Oh, sure. I'm not doubting.
I'm starting to think
but
that's because of the
brass.
the guide, right? Yeah, the brass guide.
I'm just going to put it out there that my hypothesis is that spin is very detrimental and brass is not.
And for a long time, that has been a subject of controversy among the more theoretical modders.
Yeah, we are now retreading territory. So let's move on. We will we will do questions and then fucking science.
We'll do shout outs. While people are waiting, they can ask questions.
Yeah, okay. So guys, in the Twitch viewers, if you want to leave us some questions, and then for the guys, if you want to ask someone specific something, you can. All right. So shout outs. What do we got? Hang on. First up, let me bring this up. Okay, we have I can't remember who recommended this. We have Nerf 498's Hammerhead project. Project Hammerhead.
This is cool.
Who suggested this?
If
Cool.
no one did, I'll say I did because it's cool.
Hang on, I think it was Zom. Was it you?
No, it wasn't me. I got the air horn.
Kev, was it you?
Oh, this one, yeah. I suggested that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't know
Sorry,
much
Jed,
about
if we're
this.
talking about topics you don't have anything to add into.
no
You've been very
worries.
quiet and very polite. Sorry.
It's fine. I mainly deal with just HPA and stuff like that. So, I kind of view the flywheel stuff off from afar, but I wanted to shout out to this one because this is just kind of like the same level of ridiculousness that I like to surround myself with. Just the fact he's hooking up 3 flywheel cages within a single one with afterburners is just ridiculous and awesome at the same time. This is the kind of modding stuff I like to see from the modding community, along with the other ridiculous stuff you guys, like Liam, Ryan, Zombona, have come up with. So I haven't yet myself messed around with flywheels and that sort of thing, just because I kind of solely focus in on mag strikes and HPA. But I can really, really appreciate this kind of quality level build that he's done with this triple flywheel integration, and it's really clean too. I mean, it looks really nice as well.
Yeah, that's one of the first things that Justin and I sort of turned and looked at each other and said when we saw the Modulus afterburners, because it just has so much space up the front.
Does.
Yeah. Alright. Next shout out, we have the loudest Nerf blaster from Welcome, actually. Welcome, who we've had on the ModCast before. So, who suggested this? Sorry, it was
Oh, that'd be
Ari?
me.
Yeah. Tell us about it. What is this?
I honestly saw the video like 20 minutes before we started, and I just like, this is hilariously awesome. I have to shout out to this. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just straight up fun. It doesn't shoot darts. It just makes noise. So he's got a Titan tank in a strong arm, I think.
Yep. Oh no, Spectre.
And Spectre. So I don't know either. So.
Cold?
And basically, whenever he releases the air, he sends it through that little horn that's on the screen right now. And so it just makes like a little wheeze noise. And I wouldn't say it's the loudest because I'm pretty sure that a 180 Strife is still louder, but because that's a terrifying noise. Well, we can be honest here. But it does make a really awesome wheeze noise.
So what I want to see happen is the actual noisemaker behind, like inside the tube that the rocket then goes on top of, or inside behind the absolver, because then that way you're firing and making the noise.
And
Yeah, I was thinking you could
that'd
just
be
shove the
fun.
dart down the horn barrel.
That's been done by a guy in Brisbane, and it fired about 10 feet.
That's all you
Nice.
need on an absolver.
Nice.
It's
Alright.
all in the face. All the darts in the face.
Did anyone else have? I've kind of lost track of where stuff was in the playlist. Is there something else someone wanted to shout out?
I added a link into the Facebook group chat. It was just to Keegan Carambellis from Sydney Nerf Wars for his compressed XBZ long strike, because he spent a lot of time doing that.
Let me
And-
see if I can bring that up real quick.
It was just a YouTube link that I gave.
I don't know if I can play it back, but if you wanted
I
to...
really have to give thanks to Busby on this one, actually. The XBZ has been an absolute boon to the community. The last air tank blaster before that, is well off the shelves, and bringing the air tanks back was really good of them. I really hope they do more.
I really hope so.
Actually, the Destiny
BoomCo's
coming
got
out
air tank
soon.
blaster.
The which one, sorry?
The Destiny.
BoomCo's got a.
But
But
Destiny
as-
one.
Oh
in
yeah,
a-
Busby's air tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The BoomCo's got the burst wave, and that's an air tank blaster.
Ah, okay. I have not
Fires
heard of
4
that.
shots.
Oh, that's the rotating absolver
Yeah,
thing.
I wasn't a fan of it because you have to manually rotate the barrels, but that's air powered. I've been considering taking one and making it a single shot.
Oh, okay, cool. Interesting.
Yeah, there are a few Busby ones that were air pump that I tried adapting that had kind of like the black box, but some of those other smaller pistols, their black box, for whatever reason, I forget the particular one, but when I tried adapting it, um, it was something about having continuous pressure. It would not fire. It would just leak air when you actuate it. But
Yes, and
when you
that's sort of
fill it
what we we're
up,
talking about before.
right,
It's so I'll just jump in for a sec. The QEV builds that Liam and I do, they work exactly the same way as what the Nerf community generally refers to as a back pressure tank.
Yeah.
The back pressure, quote unquote, works in exactly the same way as a solenoid or like a valve and a QEV. So unless you can cut off the air going into it and release the small amount, then
Yeah.
it just doesn't work.
You end up
right.
with.
And I was actually trying to figure out a way to integrate that into that Mag Strike and Rapid Fire 20 build
Use
because it
a
has
mag
the
strike
internal
valve as a manual fill for it.
Right. I was going to use something like that because it's got that internal tank that I could just fill up and then cut off the air supply and then I can fire it properly.
Yeah.
So that was something I was tinkering around with as well too.
The other option you could go with is to get a pneumatic two-way two-position three-way valve.
Or you could even go two-way two-position with a normally open and just close it. I've like the thing that I did with and I added actually the picture of the trigger valve I use in the Baron into the Dropbox. It's a mechanical three-way two-position, much like Ryan's is an electronic solenoid three-way two-position. Mine is a mechanical three-way two-position. Vent pilot, cuts off airflow, and basically lets the QEV do its thing.
Yeah, so if you use one of those and then you held the normal trigger, like pulled, then the solenoid, the valve that you add in sort of takes over the job of it.
Right. I was actually thinking of using one of those for a shoulder-mounted blaster. So I would have an air-powered shoulder blaster. I was actually going to do it with the Titan. So I have a shoulder-powered rocket launcher. Because then the solenoids, some solenoids, depending on the one you get, can be electronically triggered. So I could easily wire down a trigger instead of having air hoses run down. I could just have an electronic trigger and just a battery to kind of act with enough power to actuate the solenoid.
Yeah.
So,
there's also another BoomCo air bladder.
Yes.
Oh, we're still doing shoutouts. Go for
No,
it.
no. So I was just trying to get track.
There's the new Halo assault rifle that's coming out. That's supposed to be. It's not just supposed to be a Rapid Madness reshell. It's also they're supposed to redesign it a little bit.
I want one.
Gasp! I've not heard of this.
It's gonna be air bladdered.
Cool. So it's the Halo assault rifle, air bladder, rapid madness. Dear
similars.
God, yes.
Yeah.
That works.
And it's supposed to have flaps. It's supposed to have flaps for the for the dart, for the clip feed. It's supposed to have doors for it. So if you don't have a clip in it, it's sealed up.
Ooh, okay, that's cool.
I'm definitely gonna be getting one of those and making it.
I cannot wait to see.
The thing that I'm excited for is the Busby Destiny that got showed off at the Toy Fair at the start of the year, which is basically a mag strike with the mag going sideways instead of.
I'd say it's more of a Rapid Madness version of a Nerf gun.
Yeah, it's
because it's got the sideways mag like a Rapid Madness.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And
the mags are removable, right?
I think so.
I really hope they sell the mags separately.
Oh, that'd be awesome. You can totally load up with 20 round mags.
Yeah, because I would get that because again, you just plug that in and it'll work.
I mean, you just have to throw air into it and it fires. The system is super user friendly when it comes to air pressure. Or people with LPA and HPA tanks, you just have to regulate it down and just shoot in air.
Last a shout out is Liam's shout out. So tell us about this long strike. What's inside of it?
Right, so yeah, this was mentioned before. It's Keegan Carambellis from Sydney Nerf Wars. It's his long strike, and what he's done, he's actually thrown a compressor in the stock for an XBZ tank, and he's still
Ooh.
maintained a bolt action. So he's got a really nice clip feeding action with a with like compressor ready to go. And so basically, he doesn't have to worry about pumps at all. So it's a little bit louder, but he trades that off for having a much better rate of fire than those people that run the pumps. And he consulted me quite a bit on this build, but I didn't expect him to finish it so cleanly. And he's done really, really well with it.
Yeah,
In
it's
one
a
of-
really nice mod. So someone down here's done something fairly similar, and
Yeah.
it works.
It does, and it's beautiful.
I think someone did it in was it a Retaliator version of it, or it was
No,
in
down
a,
here it's a long strike.
it
It's
was a, yeah, I
pamps,
think that's in one of our war vlogs. We'll stick the link in that. That's the one where we shoot the can at the start of the video, and it's fills up and then fires. Yeah, very nice.
Very nice indeed.
Awesome. All right,
All right,
let's
so we
let's
have some questions, not terribly many. The first was a suggestion of using HPA for smart ARs, and I'll address that straight off the bat. When Justin was trying his Thunder Hornet, I was like, ooh, what if you use a Titan tank? And so I plugged in the Titan tank to the smart AR for that bow thing. And what happens if you try and increase the power by putting more air through it? It just fires multiple barrels.
No, well, I did it too. And so what happens? It's mostly just the volume. So what you'd want is a low volume, high pressure, so you get the not a kind of thing. So yeah, just the sheer volume that's in a Titan tank would fire all the um things at once. I am probably gonna everyone when I did that that silly video with the Thunder Hornet, everyone did suggest why not just hook multiple up to a single Titan tank. So we might try that out too, like a Thunder Titan, something like that. All right. What was the next one?
And the next question was about using a flywheel barrel extension to do an afterburner. I've seen that done a couple of times, but flywheel afterburners really only work if your alignment is perfect. If the
Yeah,
alignment
has to
isn't
be.
perfect, then the dart simply hits the flywheel and you lose all of the energy that you then add back in. So,
Brass
unless it's
barrel guides are
perfect.
good for helping alignment, though.
Yeah, so if you were going to do an attachment, you'd really want some sort of sleeving brass guide to keep it perfectly straight.
1932 for the actual brass guide itself, and then a 5/8 coupler would probably be perfect there.
Yeah. So it's an idea. It can work, and it would definitely. It's been done. I don't know how well it's been done because I've only seen pictures, but it definitely does work.
Just to cover what Spencer, who was new to the stream, yes, we do a image slideshow, and I get all the guys to send me images just because getting multiple webcams set up, not everyone has the best webcam, and not everyone has the best setup light-wise for a webcam, and then you also have to worry about your background, then also
And
looking
people's ugly
presentable
faces.
yourself.
You don't have to worry about me flipping people off on camera.
Oh, good thing my camera's off then.
So we've got
The
another
government's always
actual
watching.
relevant question. HPA pistols.
Okay, I'll answer that.
So Liam's, you're doing your homemade thing.
Yeah, I'm actually currently developing a homemade QEV-based pistol, and currently the cost of it has come out to about $100 minus printing. So the components of that are actually very relatively easy, and this is also not including the HPA bottle part. But a guy called Rob from Melbourne Nerf Wars is working on a CO2 variant of this, and so he'd probably be able to make it even more compact than currently given.
Yeah,
And
both Robert and James are working on these kinds of things as well. James is also finding lots of smaller HPA parts.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'd like to say is you don't have to use QE. Oh, so you don't have to use custom. If you want to do a pistol, another great way that I'm working on, super ultra backburner project, is to take a Fury Fire. Is it a Fury Fire or the original high? Yeah, the Fury Fire, which is a 10 dart drum cylinder that rotates the drum on the trigger pull. And so my idea is every time I rotate the trigger, it triggers the QEV that fires through the turret.
much like an air-powered Snapfire, then
Yeah,
workable.
Ooh.
yeah. So I've
Yeah.
gone and found some really tiny QEVs, and I just need to get some more parts from the States in order to fit that all in.
Yeah. So
I can't actually Oh, hang on.
finishing off the pistol one real quick.
Yep.
The pistol that I'm working on would be tunable for super stock velocities, but also slightly higher. So at the moment, my lowest velocity point for half length darts is about say 50 to 60 FPS, but higher than that, I can tune it right up to the max threshold of the actual regulator, because my regulator has a lower pressure threshold than my rated parts, which is good because it means I'm not going to ever need to overpressurize anything. And it'll actually cause, I can set it up at 125 psi, and it'll push darts out at about 170, 180. And yes, it is a hand cannon. It's about 170 to 180 FPS. So it's like a really good, powerful sidearm, but it's a hand cannon of sorts.
Nice.
And it's semi-auto to boot.
If I
So
could jump in here, you know, and
go for
Kobo
it.
was asking about like more beginner-friendly parts because you guys are working on like builds that are highly customized, or you're building from scratch, and some people, not everyone has
And with
the
very
option to
expensive
really start
parts.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can, yeah, the link's right there in the chat. I have a list there of if you're going more the route of Zombona, we're starting with, a stock air blaster, and then working our way backwards to have a tank or a compressor of some kind. That has a list of a bunch of parts that I've used. One really easy thing you can do is you can go to a lot of Home Depots or Lowe's. What you're looking for usually is push to connect adapters, and then you can use that to connect to traditional parts. Like for my air tank mod, I can use regular quarter-inch NPT valves, and those parts vary between $2 to $5 per part. I spend a little bit more on my push to connect to adapters. I use, instead of the white polyethylene, I believe it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Those white parts, they're a little bit cheaper, but I use their black nylon spun push to connect adapters, and they're
Yeah, those are
usually a few
great.
bucks more. The reason I go with those is because often when I would play in the fall, as nighttime goes on, it gets to about 30 degrees,
Fahrenheit.
or about Fahrenheit, or 0 degrees Celsius.
Nice.
It can get pretty cold in the fall, and what would I would find would happen is with my push to connect adapters, they would actually get rigid, and with those white ones, it would get rigid and not properly seal, and I would lose air pressure.
So
Okay.
I
one-
also use barbed fittings for mine.
Yep. Barbed fittings, that's if you're permanently connect. You could use those if you find the right size barb fittings.
Well,
I
you
had
can
a
always
little
just
easier.
cut the tube off the barb. It's not like it's
Yeah.
expensive tubing.
Yeah, the tubing is real cheap too. You can find them on like Master Macar. You can also buy some of the tubing in like Home Depot as well too. So the individual parts are anywhere from just a couple bucks to $5. If you go to like Harbor Freight Tools in the U.S., I can get a regulator for about $8. Or I get a ball valve for about $5. It does add up a little bit, so you are looking at, like Zambona said, about $100 for all the parts and fittings that you want, whether or not you're using an external tank or a compressor. But they're not all that expensive. most of the more recent air tanks use quarter-inch outer diameter parts, or quarter-inch outer diameter tubing. Some of the older mag strikes use an oddball, like I think it's like 5/16 size. It's like just slightly bigger than quarter-inch, but slightly lower than 3/8. It's kind of an awkward in-between custom size. So with those ones, I'll usually use the barb fittings like Zombona mentioned, because it's just a lot easier than trying to use a push to connect, since they're such an awkward size. And yeah, the power clip is one of the predecessors to the mag strike. So as long as you can get those fittings connected right, and some of those fittings are again in that list, then there's a lot of things you can do with that on a relatively inexpensive basis.
Yep. And then it's just a case of getting the tank, getting the regulator, spending a bunch of time getting it all Teflon taped together, and then go from there.
Yeah, do agree with that.
Literally just a weekend mod. It's easy peasy.
Yeah, just sort of throw it up, cut some fittings in, screw the tank together. Yeah.
That's what I
If you
feel
got,
about.
yeah, if you pull up that picture of the original mod I had there, I basically just ordered the tank, the regulator, a push to connect, and the tubing. And I got that in a single weekend and put that together in a single weekend. Everything else I've done since then, my whole rig with the vest and everything, is basically just a much more engineered version of that. It's basically all it is just a tank, a regulator, 2 push to connect adapters, and some tubing. It's really very simplistic once you come down to it.
In before everyone uses it at HVZ.
Yeah, but the thing is, it'd make HVZ a lot more of a spam fest, wouldn't it now?
Oh, it'd be amazing. I mean, the hardest part is getting all the mags.
Pistols?
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Well, the other part of that too is that most blasters are now either electric, flywheel, or spring. There's not really that many, except for like some of the like the Rapid Madness. Nerf hasn't really released very many air-powered ones recently. They're much more favored the spring and electric-powered ones recently.
Which is a crying shame.
Yes.
That said,
it might be a safety thing, or not liability thing, because they know about modding quite a bit now, and so if they release anything air powered, yeah.
Potentially, I'm not sure. I wish they wouldn't.
All right. I think we've actually covered everything. So
I think this is an excellent place to wrap up, unless anyone's got any final thoughts, anything they want to say, other than if people are still interested in this, jump on over to the High Pressure Airheads Facebook group, because we're all there, and there's plenty of information in that group.
while he's still here, if he's still listening, Cobber, thank you for sticking around for 2 hours. And shout out to Cobber from Brisbane Area Nerf Group.
Hi.
yeah.
Also, goodbye, because I think that concludes our stream.
Yeah, and I will be jumping in, maybe some of these guys, into the r/nerf, the Nerf Reddit's Discord. I've put a link to a direct invite to the Discord server, so we'll probably be in voice chat for a little bit if people want to say hi or ask any other questions to the guys.
I'll be in
yeah.
High Pressure Airheads if you need to ask me anything, and feel free to drop me a message on Facebook. I don't bite, and neither
And
does
also
Ryan.
check out everyone's YouTube channels. I'll be linking that in the description as well.
Excellent.
So, yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Liam, for being on. Thank you very
Thank you for
much,
having me.
Zombona, Kevin. Thank you very Ari Zombona. Thank you very much, Jed. And yes. Sharing your
Master is
knowledge.
BoomCo.
Air Blaster Master Race.
All right.
I'm just pushing my BoomCo agenda. Don't mind.
Mommy, those guys are using BoomCo blasters. No, don't look at him, Billy. I don't want you to. Too late.
It's too late. I've seen everything.
No.
Alright, see you later, guys.
Catch you
Bye.
later.
Bye.